Let it
All right. Who brought your Bible?
What?
Woo! Yeah.
Well, Travis.
Bring your Bible. All right, guys. Well, I hope you're ready. Everybody's good. Yeah. Okay. So one person brought their Bibles. Okay. Who's sitting down?
What?
Okay.
Say what?
Okay. Who liked the video?
It was weird.
Okay. Who has an iPhone?
It was very loud.
Okay, good. Because if you don't have one, you're not cool. I'm just messing with you. All right. So I can just say that because I have one. All right. So it's been a long week, but I got this together for you guys. We're starting a new series. Okay. I love series. Plural. I love multiple things, lessons. Yeah, because that means we get to do a bunch of one thing, right? And then we get to build upon it. So I actually get to stretch what you guys don't want to listen to for an hour into 4 weeks of about 20 minutes. So, okay. So, guys, that video is all about our next series, okay? So, what we're going to talk about now is last week we talked about excellence, right? And we talked about what our enemies are. Okay, we're fighting a battle, right? But those were more of our emotional enemies, right? Like anger, and some of the things within us that kind of battle us. These next 4 weeks, we're talking about the things within us that are and around us that are physical. Okay, so the things in our world that hold us back. So, with that being said, I'm going to ask Austin to move to the next slide here. And I'm going to define for you what we're doing, okay? So, Soul Detox. That's the title of our series here for a while, okay? So I'm going to tell you what it is. It's a new beginning, clean slate, okay? Blank page, and maybe window cleaning. I don't know if you like cleaning windows. All right? So here's the thing. When we look at this, I want you guys to know that everything we've done until this point has kind of been leading us here. Okay, we've talked about self-evaluation a lot. Okay, when we looked at Jump, we talked about faith and how we can't do any of these things without faith. All right, we went through Epic and how everyone has a story. And these things kind of scratched the surface a little bit. And we got deep here and there. But here we're going to really take a look at ourselves, okay? So, here's the first thing. The reason I put window washing up there is because I have a story to tell you. Are you ready for this story?
Ready.
Okay. So, I was not alive at this point in time. My grandpa tells the story all the time because he thinks it's the greatest. Okay, you know how your grandparents, like, they have this one story and they tell it over and over and over again, and they start, this one time and you're like, right, you did this, this, and this, and oh, okay. So this is the one story he tells over and over again. And okay, so he's coming home from whatever meeting he has and whatever it is, and he's driving down the road. He's driving a bus, and he's just kind of like looking off into the distance, kind of dazed, and all of a sudden you just hear, whoop! And he freaks out, jerks the wheel a little bit, and everybody flips. And according to him, a grasshopper had run into the windshield and left a spot up this big. I mean, it just, boom, just didn't have the guts to do that again. So, this is what happens, right? And so, you ever had that happen? You see the little ones, like, it's just a stinking grasshopper, and that thing just, alright? And sometimes that happens to us, okay? So we're like driving down the road of life, and all of a sudden these things just boom! And splatter. Okay, what do you do when something like that happens?
Use the window.
Deep-driving? Yeah, okay. You might turn on your windshield wipers, but if your windshield wipers don't work, what do?
You drive faster.
You slow down.
maybe the force of the air going over the windshield will.
He didn't say how to get killed. He said how to.
Look for a new grasshopper.
Stop.
Well, there you go.
Get out of the car. While you're driving. Wipe it out.
All right, so yeah, you're gonna stop. Okay, most people, normal people, would stop the vehicle. Okay, and they would begin to squeegee the windshield. Okay, everybody know what a squeegee is?
Yeah.
It's got a little sponge thing on one side, a little rubber thing, and you clean the windshield, right? Okay, sometimes these things happen, all right? So detox. Anybody know what a detox is? Yeah, Rick does. All right, so I use this window analogy because the windshield is dirty, right? And so we have to clean it. Okay, if you don't ever clean your windshield, if you ever see a junkyard car with stuff all over it, you cannot see out of it, right? So you have to clean it periodically so that you can see. And our lives work the same way. Okay, we've got to clean the windshield of our lives to see. And that's what a detox is, okay? When people overdose on something or take too much of something or have too much of something in their system, oftentimes they have to go through a detox stage. And so sometimes it's, of your blood or whatever, but it's to get all the toxins out of your system. Okay, and our lives are the same way. All right? Sometimes we get gunk in our lives from everywhere else. Okay, you saw in that video all the black, kind of like veins running everywhere. Okay, all this stuff gets in us, and then your heart starts pumping it everywhere, and before you know it, you're filled up to the top with nothing but the toxins in your life. Okay, so we're gonna get this grasshopper off the windshield. All right, sound good? Okay, good. All right, so here's what we got. I'm going to show you something. Are you ready? Okay. So you probably are wondering what this is all about. Okay, so let's see. I need a volunteer.
Me!
I'm back.
Feedback!
You didn't even tell us what we're doing.
Okay, I'm gonna pick one guy, one girl. I'm gonna take.
Oh, yeah, you want me to get the birthday girl.
Okay, I'm gonna take Tori
And
and
John.
Come on.
Stand on
No, no.
the chair, you won't get there.
That one.
John.
Yeah. Yes, perfect.
Okay, I want you guys to get a cup. I don't care, just get a cup.
Hey, you want me?
Just get a cup.
Get it off.
You're gonna have to drink out of it, not you.
Yes, you're gonna have to drink. Yeah, you're not have to drink out of it. So what's in there? There's a ton of dirt in there. Yeah, it is. I spray painted to make it look like dirt. There's a bunch of dirt in there. It's kinda
Dirt
weird.
right outside.
I didn't want to dig. She dropped her dirt. Okay, so go sit down. You got to pick it up, that's it. No. Okay, so here's the thing. Let me show you something. Alright, you ready? Let me show you something. Every single one of these is full of dirt. It's just got a bunch of nasty stuff in it. Like every single one is stacked. The whole thing. Just everywhere. Okay? Let me show you this one. Nothing. Why didn't you pick it? Right? Oh, okay. John, why didn't you pick this one?
Because you said pick one from the stack.
No, I didn't. I
Oh,
said pick a cup.
you moved the stack.
I said pick a cup.
Burn.
Okay, why do we always pick it from the stack?
Because
It's like, are we afraid that this one lonely cup over here is something like somebody picked up and then set back down and you're like, I don't want that one. When in all reality, I could have taken one of these dirty ones and put it on top of the clean stack. Wouldn't matter. You have an even chance either way. Why is that? Anybody know? Well, the story we told is because things look better in a group usually, right? When everything's together, we tend to go with that. Okay, if I gave you a single pencil and then a group of pencils, you would probably pick from the group of pencils. That's how we're wired as human beings. If we see a group of something, we'll pick from there, because for whatever reason in our subconscious, it's better to jump on the bandwagon and grab from the place that has many rather than just the one pencil or two pencils that are sitting there. Okay? So keep that in mind, because we're going to come back to this, okay? Deal? Alright. I'm going to move on here, and I want you to look at some toxic influences. So I want a response. What are some toxic influences?
marijuana.
Okay, that's a good one. Awesome.
TV, music. music.
Hey, don't read my notes!
Jeez.
Kids, read my notes.
VMAs.
Okay, what kind of You gotta be specific.
Did you hear Zach?
Colby.
I have one.
What do you have?
The VMAs.
Yeah, those things are crazy.
Disgusting.
Okay, I heard about that. We're good. Yes. Alcohol, okay. Media. Okay, these are all physical, tangible things, right? Right? Okay. Here's the thing, there are a lot of physical, tangible things around you that are going to impact you in a certain way. John.
Common-day commercials.
Hey, you need to stop reading my notes.
No, yours says commercials.
I write notes and I like to read. So, here's the thing. Alright, bring it back home. Here's the thing. We all have these different means of acquiring toxins in our lives, whether they be literal, like, I mean, I hope you're not like shooting up heroin in your bathroom at home, but that would be kind of crazy. But, okay, I'm not talking about literally things like that, but I am talking about physical, tangible things that take place in your life, okay, that are around you. Alright? So, here's what I want you to look at. It tells from this group of stuff here, okay? Alright, you see what I've got on the screen? I've got a couple of vials and stuff. Alright, would anybody drink that?
Yes.
Yes.
I looks like Mountain Dew.
If I
It's like
brought,
syrup and soap
okay,
and
this one
water.
on the right, that's called an Erlenmeyer flask. And then the one on the left is a beaker. Alright? That's just their technical name. But, if I gave you one or the other of them with something colored like that in it, would you drink it?
Yeah.
Okay, raise your hand if you would.
The right one looks like Mountain Dew.
Okay, so I've got like a third of you guys that would. Okay, here's the thing. When we see something, that says don't drink it. Okay, if I had that sitting out on the lab table, it could be salt water.
Then I spit it out.
It could be hydrochloric acid. You don't know, right? Okay, and so we as human beings, sometimes, some of us just want to try it anyway, and that's kind of how it goes, because when we see stuff in a group, especially, we go ahead and just take it from there. Okay? And that's kind of how that works sometimes. And it's not entirely correct. Whoa. Alright? Hey, how many of you have a Bible on your phone?
Why is you study?
Okay.
Good.
I want you guys to, right now, go to Colossians chapter 3. I'm going to read a little bit, and I want you to follow along with me, because it's a little bit, it's quite a bit. It's the most scripture we've done in a while. But I want you to hear this, okay? Paul's writing to the church in Colossae. Okay? Everybody say Colossae. There you go. Okay, Paul's writing. I don't know why, but every book I ever choose to preach out of is almost always written by Paul. Don't ask me. Alright, so here's what we go. Chapter 3, verse 1, it says, "Since then you have been raised with Christ, set your hearts on things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things, for you died, and your life is now hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you will appear with him in glory." Okay? So Paul is writing to this church, and he's saying, keep in God, right? Everything you do, keep it God focused. Okay, here, verse 5. It says, "Put to death, therefore, whatever belongs to your earthly nature, sexual immorality, impurity, lust, evil desires, and greed, which is idolatry. Because of these, the wrath of God is coming. You used to walk in these ways in the life you once lived, but now you must rid yourselves of all such things as these: anger, rage, malice, slander, and filthy language from your lips. Do not lie to each other, since you have taken off your old self with its practices, and put on the new self, which is being renewed in the knowledge of the image of its creator." Okay, so we're going to stop right there for now. Paul's writing to these guys, and he's saying, hey, here's the deal. Your life's filled with junk. Alright? You're filled to the top with all of these things. Alright? Here's what it says. Alright, there in chapter 3, it says, "Put to death these things: sexual immorality, impurity, lust, evil desires, and greed." Alright, these are things we hear, right? These are generic things. They take many different forms, but they're real physical things, right? Alright, and then he goes on to say, rid yourself of anger, rage, malice, slander, and filthy language. What's the difference between malice, slander, and filthy language?
They're all bad.
That's not a difference, that is a commonality.
They're all
Yes, Jasmine.
Filthy language, I'm pretty sure, is cussing.
filthy language is anything, and filthy language actually doesn't necessarily have to be cursing. Right? It can be talking down on someone else. It's talking about someone in a derogatory manner. Yeah, Zach?
Malice is hate.
Yeah, malice is hate. Okay, so what's the difference between malice and anger?
Anger is just you want to beat something up. Hate is like
Anger.
Right, okay, so here's the deal. Anger, you don't act it out. Okay? Being angry is just within you. It's just being angry. Alright? Malice is being angry and trying to do something about it. Okay, malice, if you ever watched maybe some old shows of some kind or something of that nature, well, you're gonna find out that in this whole world of things, that malice is actually, like, you can kill someone with malicious intent. Okay, that means that you went and you wanted to, it was
Premeditated.
there you go. It was premeditated. So you're going to find out that it was thought of beforehand. Okay, and that's what malice is. That's your difference there. All right, but slander is something entirely different, and we forget this. All right, bullying is a big thing. Okay, we all know that. We see commercials about it. We have these big bullying campaigns in school, and I'm like, it's a lot easier if you just use God to kind of do away with that because you don't have to worry about it. But it's a big thing. Because if we would focus on things that are good, we don't have to worry about what's bad. And what's interesting is that that's slander. Alright, it's talking down on someone. Slander is maybe talking down about somebody who is of authority in some way or something like that. Slander is when you demean someone. You take the value of a person and you talk about them in a negative way. You take that and you twist it and turn it into something that is not true.
you say something that is not what it's
That's it. Okay? And that's what that is. Okay? So, foul language would be specific words, specific phrases that are derogatory. Slander would be your blasphemy of God. Okay? And you know what these things are. Okay? Saying the Lord's name in vain, that's slander. Okay? That's taking who God is and making him less than what he is. And that's how that works. Okay? So we're going to move on here. But here's what I want you guys to know. Alright, this first night, what's important is realizing that what's around you doesn't have to affect you. Alright? That there's this whole world of things that's just crazy. And you've got, TV telling you these different things. We talked about all the crazy things that you can actually find on your television. I know you don't go looking for those things, but they're there. And some people do go looking for those things, and some people, they hop on the internet and they look for things that aren't good. More than not nice, they're completely inappropriate. Alright, people will come to you and ask you to engage in these things. Guys, this little stack of cups here is those people. Because they look nice on the outside. Okay, they did. But on the inside, they're just kind of torn apart. And there's a bunch of them. But for whatever reason, we as human beings, in the nature of the way things are, we just go with the group. We see a stack of cups and we want to automatically choose from that because the things are in a group, they're automatically better. They look good and they're all together, so they must be right. But if we see the one little lonely guy out here that's actually completely good on the inside and out, perfectly capable of being drank out of, or been touched, we tend to just blow it by the wayside because it's not a part of anything. And guys, this is what God went through. When Jesus came to the earth, he went through this whole deal of coming and preaching the word. And all these people thought that he was going to come in this glorious nature. And that he was going to come on some big white stallion with a crown on his head, and he was just going to preach the word and, tell the priests, hey, you're great. But the thing is, that's not what happened. Okay? Jesus came, he was born in a manger, we know that story. And he lived an humble life. He was a carpenter. Right? And a lot of these priests and these higher officials, they didn't like that. They didn't like that some commoner was claiming to be the Son of God. When in reality, I had no idea. It didn't matter what was on the outside. It was that on the inside, he was completely clean. And then your Pharisees and your Sadducees and all these guys, these religious leaders, were completely dirty, some of them inside and out. But everybody was taken from their cup. You know why? Because they'd been there. They were in a group. They were together. And this works both ways. See, the thing is if I can get a whole stack of these cups, these nice clean ones, and it's a bigger one, then most of the time, we'll choose from that. Because there's more options, there's more people, there's more support there. And that's how groups work. That's how church works. So my challenge to you guys is to do something of that nature with it. All right, this whole spiel on soul detox, and this first night is getting rid of toxic influences. And we talked about what some of those influences are, right? And there's all these different things around us, and you know what they are, and you know which ones are worse, which ones hit home the hardest. All right, we're going to go back into Colossians here for a second. I want you to go to chapter 3, verse 17. Okay, it's up over there if you want to read it on your way out. All right, it's our verse of the week, and here's what I want you to get from it. It says, "And whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through Him." All right, we talked about almost, right? Being almost all in. This is where that comes in, because when you're all in, you begin to realize what you're really full of. All right, and this whole bandwagon idea, the way the world has things going, is, well, everybody's buying it, everybody's looking at it, everybody's doing it, all these different things. It doesn't matter. You want to be a rebel, go join a group that's small. Break away from what's going on that's driving you nuts. Okay, because here's the thing. Let me show you something. I have another one here, okay? It's a little bit modified for the lesson. Alright, I know you guys are wondering what this is too. Alright, here's what's going on. And here's the way God works. Is that on the outside, sometimes we as Christians look good too. Just like these guys. Here's how salvation works. When we take ourselves out of this group, God takes a hold of us. And He begins to shape us. And He begins to maybe clean us out. Maybe a little bit at a time. He just kind of shakes us out. And just throws out everything that's not worth anything. But sometimes, there's a little bit stuck at the bottom. All right, and God begins to do a work. But what's cool about God and the way grace works is that by the power of the cross and all things good in this world, God begins to work. And He starts to wash us clean. Maybe through a little Bible study. Maybe sometimes He has to get a little dirty with us, wipe us clean. Maybe through a little youth group, something like that. But He begins to work and wash things out. Sometimes we get a little broken in the process. Sometimes we get a little torn in the process. Things just start to fall out. And at some point, we end up just like this. Really clean. Because that's the power of the cross. But see, what do I have to do to clean this cup up? Yeah. I have to pour water in it, right? I have to have something to get rid of that. To take everything that's in here and take it out. But you know what? This little group over here, they don't get that. They don't understand that they've got to get washed out. They've got to go through this process of this detox, right? They've got to look at themselves and they have to come at the foot of the cross and they have to say, hey, I'm ready to be clean. And then God takes a hold of them and He starts working. And He starts cleaning things off. Whatever happened in the past goes away. at some point, you realize that without the living water, you just stay the way you were. That all this dirt was just built up inside. And the thing is that God's going to continue to do that. That in your life, God's going to continue to wash you up. And you're going to fall, and you're going to get dirty again. But the beauty of grace is that it takes care of that for us. It gets rid of all the nastiness inside. But we have to accept that, right? We have to take ourselves from this group, and we have to just sometimes really, really pull on ourselves. So finally we make our way free. We find ourselves clean. And God begins to work once again. But what we have to realize is that this is our choice. And until we make that choice, we stay right where we're at. And so tonight, I want you guys to focus on your toxic influences. And no, tonight I didn't cover the material like I usually do. Tonight I wanted to illustrate how God works. And that God's hands are always clean. And with those hands, they'll clean you. But the difference between me and these cups and God and you is that you have a choice. Because God doesn't reach over and pull you out of the stack. You have to push yourself out of the stack. And you have to get off the bandwagon and stop letting these influences hold you together. And hop into the arms of Christ. And at that point you're free, right? Then He can use you for the ministry, for the world around you. But you have to make that choice. And if I haven't, I encourage you to ask questions. I encourage you to reevaluate. And maybe you know for a fact that you're a saved individual. All power to you. Glory to God. But the thing is, sometimes we get dirty again, right? When we're kids, we're playing around, our parents bring us in, they wash us up, they get us all clean, and 10 minutes later, we're right back outside the dirt. And we do that to God. He says, hey man, come here, let me clean you. Let me wash you out. Let me rub some of this off. And before you know it, right back where you started.